Hey, my name is Shelby Kendrick, and this is my video for Intro to Sustainable Construction. If you're like me, you are not aware of what sustainable construction is or even how to remotely put those practices in place when speaking with potential clients. After reading these 6 chapters, I feel very more aware of what green building and sustainable construction is, and I hope after watching this video it gives you a little more insight of what I've learned and what I've gathered after reading these chapters. The first thing I want to talk about is what sustainable construction is. So I'm going to read off a definition from the EPA, which is the Environmental Protection Agency. They define sustainable construction as the practice of creating structures and using processes that are environmentally responsible and resource efficient throughout a building's life cycle, from siding to design, construction, operation, maintenance, renovation, and deconstruction. Basically what it's saying is basically sustainable construction is creating energy efficient homes that are going to, from start to finish, from when the house goes up to when the house comes down, it's going to be safer for the environment and practice those green standards. A lot of myths that go along with green building is that it's too ugly and that it's too expensive. And I was one of those people who thought that, but after reading about different ways to achieve these green standards, I no longer believe that. There's cheaper options like low flow shower heads and water saving toilets. You don't have to go out and spend thousands of dollars to put solar panels on the top of your house to, have those supply your energy. Something as simple as changing the shower head on your showers to a low flow shower head rather than one that uses 10 gallons of water per minute would make a huge difference in the world, especially if everyone did that. Another thing I want to talk about is the home being a system. When you think of the home being a system, or if anything being a system, you think of different parts coming together to effectively achieve one goal. And the same thing goes for a home or any structure that you're building. There's different aspects that work together to make the energy efficient standards in your house up to par and to create a comfortable environment for you to live in. Conduction, convection, and radiation are 3 ways that heat is transmitted. And when the house is effectively working as a system, those 3 things are controlled to create that environment that is comfortable for you and your family. Planning and designing is another huge thing in green building. Basically, decisions made from the very beginning set the stage for how the house will operate its entire life. So when you sit down with your team and actually talk about what your end goal is in your project, you're going to come out with saving money because you're not going to have to go back and fix things or add things in the middle of your construction build. You're going to have a clear mindset of where you want to start and where you want to end up. Another cool thing that I learned about when reading chapter 3 was, I'm probably going to say this wrong, but it's evapotranspiration. And basically what that is when trees sweat, causing the air to be cooler. In suburb areas, because of how many trees are there, you can expect that the temperature is going to be 3 degrees cooler. And I thought that was super interesting because depending on what type of landscape you put around your home, you can effectively cut costs just by putting trees up over your home. And that's another good green option. And so that's what I thought was really interesting. Another thing I want to talk about is foundations. Every structure has them. When you think about a house, I know when you're buying a house, you're like, okay, is this foundation intact? Because if not, it's going to cost me a lot of money to go back and fix. When we're building these foundations, we need to think about that as well. How can they save us money? What things can we put in place to make these foundations effective and help keep the heat in and stuff like that? Every foundation needs to be insulated, and a lot of times that's not the case. I know growing up we had basements in our home that were not insulated, and so anytime you went to the lower level, we had a finished office down there, and that room always stayed super hot because the basement around it was not insulated. So those are things to think about. Another cool thing are insulated concrete blocks. They help keep the basement warm while also making the foundation wall water resistant. And it's cool that we already have those. You can buy them already formed, and they're going to create your basement to be insulated, and then that's going to cost cut down on your cost on heating and cooling your home, because you're taking one of the hottest or coldest areas in a home and insulating it so you don't have that air trying to escape in those places that aren't insulated. Another thing I want to talk about is framing. A lot of times too much wood is being used in framing, creating a problem for insulation. There's not enough room to put that insulation in there. So if you think about it, every time you place a 2x4, you only have one right here as well, and you only have that little bit, but you're having that 2x4 area that is not being insulated, so it creates less insulation in your home. So by using 2x6s instead of 2x4s, it's going to allow for deeper insulation, because you have 2 more inches on those boards to create more room for insulation, and you also space them farther apart to create more room for insulation, therefore eliminating how much wood is in your house. Chapter 6 talks about roofs and attics, which is also super important. In your attic, you have the hottest air coming through, but you also have the coolest air coming through because of your ductwork. Insulation in attics should range between R38 to R50. That's talking about our R valves. The higher it is, the better insulation it is. There's different types of roofs that go along with green standards, and the most important thing to think of when you're choosing a roof is how durable is it going to be? Is this going to last for years to come? The most common ones in Alabama that I see are asphalt roofs and metal ones, and they're going to protect against hail, and metal ones are fire resistant, and they're very they last a very long time, so you're not going to have that maintenance upkeep like you would with other ones, being like clay tiles or anything like that that's going to break if we get a hailstorm. So all of these go into play to create a sustainable environment for you to live in. And like I said, there's tons of options for green building. And it doesn't have to be super expensive. If you sit down and you plan and design that with your team in the very beginning, it's going to create a project that is cheaper, not just in the building process, but in the while you're living there, in the whole lifespan of that structure, because you're going to have the green standards put in place to help you save that money and create a better environment for the world. So I hope this gives a little bit of insight to you, and thank you.